Hey there, class. Mr. Pusky here. Hope you're having a good day so far. Today we're continuing with 5.2 Day 1 Part 2. It's a long lesson, so we worked on factoring methods. We did difference of squares yesterday. We did grouping and pulling out a GCF, which GCF is used for grouping. And so today we're doing the smiley face method, and we're also doing perfect square trinomials. So if you recall, oh shoot, I don't think I posted it for you. I gotta post that for you. Factor flow chart will explain how you go through factoring here, okay? So the first thing we always look for is we look for a GCF, and then after that we check the number of terms. So yesterday we did difference of squares and we did grouping, and today we're going to be doing these ones right here, okay? Which is 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, it's a perfect square trinomial, general factoring, and trial and error. Okay, which is all generally going to be what we're working with today. So, I'll make sure to post that for you. I guess it depends when this video is being watched, but in future years I'll have it posted for you. But here we go. So, the smiley face method. So, basically what we're doing with factoring is undoing multiplication or distribution, or it is undoing FOIL, all right? So, when you FOIL something like m plus 2 times m plus 6, you multiply m times m, which is m squared, m times 6, which is 6m, 2 times m, which is 2m, and then 2 times 6, which is 12, which is going to give you something which is going to equal, these are like terms here, it's going to be m squared plus 8m plus 12, which is kind of what these look like right here, right? So we're going from this, and we're going back to the original thing, so we're going to have two binomials, which are going to have... which are going to be, it's going to be in parentheses being multiplied together, basically. Okay? So here's how this is going to work. So we have m squared plus 15m plus 50. So we need factors of the first term, which are going to go right here. We need factors of the last term that are going to go right here. And we need to make sure the signs in the middle are going to match what's happening in the middle and the end. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So we need factors of m squared. So what are the factors of m squared? Well, the only way to get m squared is going to be m times m, right? That's an easy one. Okay. Now we need to check the signs. So what is the only way we could get two positives if we multiply? What multiplies to 50 that's going to give us two positives? Well, it has to be a positive times a positive, right? The only way to multiply, if we got like negative 50, that would be a positive times a negative. If we got positive 50 and then over here was negative 15m, that would have to be two negatives, negative times a negative, right? So it's kind of clunky, but kind of weird to think about, but the middle and last term are going to determine what kind of signs we're going to use here. So we know already what's going to go in the blank here. What we're going to have is we're going to have m and m. That's going to go in the first blank. We're also going to have a plus and a plus. And now we need to find factors of 50. What multiplies to 50? Well, we have 1 times 50, sorry. 1 times 50. We also have 2 times 25. We also have 5 times 10. And I believe that is everything. So, which factors, now we're doing this is what the smiley face method is, all right? We're going to take these two terms, the O and I in FOIL, and they should add to 15 when we add them, all right? It's kind of like we're undoing what we were doing up there when we had like the 2m plus 6m was 8m, right? We're going to kind of figure out the O and the I in FOIL. So let's just try a couple. Let's try 2 and 25. Well, let's figure that out here. What is 2 times m going to be? Well, that is 2m. What is m times 25? That is 25m. And what is 2m plus 25m? Well, that's going to be 27m. Does that equal 15m in the middle here or no? It does not. So what we're going to need to do is change... we're going to have to try something different. So to get 15m, you can probably see we're going to want to use 5 times 10. So 5 times 10, and that's going to give us 5m. And then m times 10 is going to be 10m. And that's going to equal, when you add those together, 15m. So that's going to be the correct thing. So if you were to FOIL this, you would get back to this, and that would be correct. We're trying to undo what's happening in FOIL. We're trying to guess and check. And it's called the smiley face method because it looks like smiley faces here. All right? We have m plus 5, and your final answer is not all of this stuff right here. Your final answer is actually just this top part here, which I'm going to write off to the right. m plus 5 times m plus, that's 5, m plus 10. This is your factored correct answer. This is what it means to factor something, is to figure out what the FOIL was that got you to this original thing here. We're going the opposite direction of FOIL. Okay, let's do number 2 now. We have x squared minus 6x minus 27. Okay, so we need factors of x squared. How do we get x squared when we multiply? Well, it's going to be x times x, isn't it? It's the only way to get x squared times x. All right, now we need to check the signs. So we have a negative here and we have a negative here. So we need factors of negative 27. What's the only way to get negative 27 when you multiply two numbers? Because a positive and a positive is a positive, a negative and a negative is a positive. So these two signs have to give us a positive times a negative in order to get a negative 27 for our factor. So we're going to do x plus and x minus. Those are what's going to go in the first part of the blank here. Now we need factors of negative 27. What multiplies to negative 27? Well, we have negative 1 times 27. We have 1 times negative 27. What else do we have? We have negative 3 times 9, and we have 3 times negative 9. And I think that's all the factors we need. So let's try this. We need to pick numbers that are going to give us negative 6 when we add them. Which numbers are going to give us negative 6 when we add them? Well, if you look at these, maybe you can guess it right away, but it looks like these answers are probably going to give us close to 6. Let's try 9 and negative 3. See how that works. Well, what's 9 times x going to be? That's going to be 9x. And x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And that's going to give us positive 6x. So we were correct, but we want negative 6x in the middle here. So how are we going to fix that? Well, instead of doing positive 9 and negative 3, we're going to do negative 9 and positive 3. And that's going to give us negative 9x and positive 3x, which is going to give us negative 6x. So our final answer is going to be, we unfoiled it, we guessed what things are going to work here, x minus 9 and x plus 3. If you write x plus 3 times x minus 9, that is also correct. It doesn't matter how you write the parentheses. It just depends on, that's the commutative property, so don't worry about that. All right, moving on. Okay, we have factor each completely. Now we're doing smiley face method, but this one's a little bit trickier because now we have an a value. We have an a value in front that's going to be a 2. It's not just a 1y squared, basically. It's 2y squared. Well, let's do the same thing here. So we need factors of 2y squared. And each term needs a y. When we're doing this, we need each term to have a y, like this. Okay? So the only way to multiply 2y to get 2y squared is going to be 2y times y, right? So we have 2y times y. That's the only, that's the only thing to multiply here. All right. What are the signs going to be? We have two positives here. The only way to get positive 3 and to end up with a positive is going to be positive times a positive. Those are going to both be positive. And now we need factors of positive 3. Well, that's going to be 1 times 3. And that's actually it. It's going to be 1 times 3 or 3 times 1. So now when we do this, we want the inside and outside terms to add up to 7y. So what should I put where with the 3 and the 1 to end up with 7? If I put the 3 here and a 1 here, that's going to be 3y, and 2y is going to be 5y. That's not what we want, right? So let's flip it around. Let's go ahead and do 1 here and 3 here. Well, that's going to be y, and it's going to be 6y, and those are going to add up to 7y. So that is the correct answer. We're going to get 2y plus 1 times y plus 3. And there's your answer. That's factored using the smiley face method. All right, number 4 is a little bit trickier. This one's a little bit trickier because we have 4x squared and we have positive 3. So this one's trickier because how can we get 4x squared? Well, there's two different options here. We can do 4x times x, or we could do 2x times 2x. So we're not sure. We're going to be guessing and checking here. We don't know which ones are going to work here, but let's look at the signs now. We have a negative and a positive. The only way to get a positive 3 to end up with a negative here is if you multiply two negatives together. It's going to be a negative times a negative, so we can put those in the middle at least. So it's going to be a negative times a negative. And we know that the factors of positive 3 that ends up with a negative is going to have to be negative 1 times negative 3. So we got 1 and 3. So this is actually nice because the only thing we need to guess and check is the 4x and the x and the 2x and 2x. We need to end up with 8x in the middle here. So these need to end up to be 8x, negative 8x that is. Let's try 4x and x. That's going to be negative x. That's going to be negative 12x. That's going to equal, if we do that, we're going to get negative 13x. That one's too big in the negative direction, right? It's not going to work. Well, let's try 2x and 2x. You could also flip around the x and the 4x. That's also probably not going to work. So let's go ahead and do 2x and 2x. Well, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. And we get negative 8x, which is correct. So the factored form of that quadratic trinomial is going to be 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 3. And all these answers, if you were to FOIL these out, you would end up with the original problem that we have there. Okay, we're undoing FOIL. All right, sounds good. Perfect square trinomials now. Perfect square trinomials. So this has the form a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared. That's going to equal a plus b all squared, or a minus b all squared. So the first and last terms must be perfect squares, which are a squared and b squared. And the middle term must be 2ab, or double ab, multiplied together. Okay? So when you're going through the factor flow chart, this is the first thing you're going to check. Okay? So we're going to check if it's a perfect square trinomial. So with perfect square trinomial, what we need is the first and last term need to be perfect squares. Now, what are perfect squares? Well, perfect squares are like 16, because that's 4 times 4. It's 49, that equals, oh, not going to do 49, actually. I gave it away, sorry. Or 64 equals 8 times 8. Okay, those are perfect squares. When you take the square root, that's going to be a nice whole number, okay? Anything else that's not going to be a nice whole number is an irrational number, and it's not a perfect square. Also, you could do m to the 4th, square root of that's going to equal m squared. Square root of x squared equals x. Those are also perfect squares, okay? So, do we have perfect squares for m squared and 49? What we do is square root of this is going to be m. Square root of 49, this is m squared. Square root of 49 is also a perfect square. That's going to be 7 squared. And then what we need to check is that the middle term is going to be double m times 7 squared. Double m times 7, not squared, just double m times 7. Let's do 7 times m, actually. Usually we put the variables in front. What's 2 times 7? 7m is 7 times m is 7m. It's going to be 14m. So this one's actually correct too. So this is a perfect square trinomial. So here's the shortcut. Here's the shortcut. What you're going to do is you are going to write this. Okay, you're going to write the square root of the first one, square root of the last one, which is 7, and then if it's a positive here, you're going to put a plus, and you're going to square it. And that's how you do it. If you were to unfoil this, you would get 2m plus 7s, right? So if you were to do this, you would have, for example, if you were to unfoil this, you would have m times m, it'd be a positive and a positive, and it'd be 7 times 7, which would be m plus 7 times m plus 7. If you do that, you're going to get 7m and 7m, which equals 14m. See, if we did the smiley face method, we still got the same answer. Okay, but then these are going to be multiplied together. These m plus 7s are going to be multiplied together. Okay, so this is all you have to do. Once you figure out it's perfect square trinomial, square root of the first one, square root of the last one, check the sign in the middle. If it's negative, it's going to be negative, and then it's always going to be 2 of those, all those multiplied together squared. Let's do one more. We have y squared minus 10y plus 25. Okay, is y squared a perfect square? It is. It's going to be y squared. Square root of 25 is what? It's 5 squared. And then we got to check that it's double. It's minus double. And then what's the things multiplied together? The 2 square roots, 5 times y. Well, if 5 times y is 5y, negative 2 times 5y is negative 10y. So we did check it. It is correct. So our final answer is all we have to do is square root of the first one, square root of the last one, put a minus here, and then square it. That's the pattern for a perfect square trinomial. All right, we'll put check marks here. So if you checked it and it did it right, these are check marks. That means that it was a perfect square trinomial. Okay, we went through that kind of quickly, but it is a lot to cover. But right now, let's go back to the factor flow chart really briefly here, and you'll be able to use this on your quizzes and tests if you want. You check for a GCF, first of all, no matter what you're doing. You check the number of terms. 2 terms is difference of squares. 3 terms is perfect square trinomial, or smiley face method. That's just going to be trial and error, and super cool method are, those are smiley face method. And then the grouping we talked about in the last lesson. Okay? So, thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you soon.